Welcome to the Tomorrow Show with Sweet Dreams AM. I am your host, Oscar, and this is the new boat we are in. This show is simply just you, me, and a microphone with some music in between. To those who know Sweet Dreams AM live, well, you might wonder what makes this different. This show really is supposed to be more of a closer look at my thoughts on films and series. This show will really have no script as I go on with the show, which already makes it different from my other show. The only music that will be present in this show is like breaks. Usually I plays music while I talk, but with the Tomorrow Show it will be music breaks. Anchor with Spotify basically allows podcast users to put music from the Spotify catalog, so like an audio show or a radio show where the host speaks and then rolls to a music break. That is what makes the Tomorrow Show with Sweet Dreams AM different. It's just the format of segmenting, me talking, then a music break from the Spotify catalog. The content. What will I talk about? Well, essentially the same. Movies. But movies that I feel should be talked about without a script. There are certain movies that I feel like I cannot make a script and jokes about that will fit with Sweet Dreams AM live. Like series, horror movies, and movies that I do not see myself making a good script will go to this show. It will be more natural and, for all I know, more entertaining since I will simply be sharing what I thought of a film from the top of my head. For example, I would make a review for Shock Boy and Lava Girl on Sweet Dreams AM Live because I can see myself making a good script with good jokes thanks to George Lopez. But for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think it is better to review it without making a script and forcing jokes into it. The Tomorrow Show will be more honest in a sense, since I will just have bullet points, which are like plot points and characters then go over them, rather than with Sweet Dreams AM Live where everything I say is scripted. You will probably be getting more frequent episodes of The Tomorrow Show since I do not have to make a script, and at the moment, I like this idea very much. That is why I started The Tomorrow Show, because I get to put some full-length music in between the episode itself. The music will not be anything of metal or heavy or super loud, so do not worry about that. I already have some ideas for movies and series that I will do here on The Tomorrow Show, and I will try my best not to repeat songs throughout the future episodes. I know some people might not like the whole idea of laugh tracks, the theme of it being a live show, a fake audience, and being scripted, so this is where the Tomorrow Show is different. It is just my thoughts on the film or series, a microphone, and some music in between while you relax and enjoy. I welcome you to the Tomorrow Show with Sweet Dreams AM, and today I shall talk about a recent horror film I watched on Netflix, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre of 2022. So let's talk about the plot. As every movie, at least a coherent one, should have a plot. Why don't we run down with why the movie even exists. So there's a group. I'm just going to run down them later on. I will be going deeper into them. It's Dante, Melody, Lila, Ruth as well. They're four in an electric car. That is important to mention that it's an electric car. I will tell you why later. They are there to do like an auction house. I think it's somewhere in Texas, just like any other Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, I think. The way it starts, I think, is also by giving some homage to the past films. As we see here, it's going to be connected as I go deeper into the plot. They're going towards Texas because it's like an auction for property. I think they're like realtor agents, and they're like, I guess, doing an auction. Yeah, just a legit auction for properties in a little town of Texas that I think is abandoned. So that's why they're going there at least. Once they go there, they get off and then they're just like, oh my god, look at how awesome this place is. There's also like a veteran dude who they met earlier at the gas station actually. They kind of talk about, there's like a newspaper thing about the Texas Chainsaw dude. So it has happened before. So this is important. It's a reboot, but it's connected to the past. From my understanding, like the Leatherface did happen. It already happened. And they never caught the dude. The girl who survived is from the past films, if I'm correct. Her name's Sally. She survived, and she's like a sheriff or like a Texas Ranger who's hunting for him in a sense, like whatever opportunity she might get at. So there's a mechanic. The guy's pro-gun, holstered, Texas. From there, they're in the city, and then they see this Confederate flag on an orphanage. I think it was an orphanage. Dante goes inside the orphanage because he wants to take down the Confederate flag. Everybody else comes because they're all coming in a bus. And I'm guessing those are going to be the guys buying the properties. Dante's going up, and he tries taking it down. That's when a lady appears, an old lady with a gas tank. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Well, she doesn't actually say that, but she's like, what's going on? And Dante's like, well, ma'am, we have a Confederate flag up there. And she's like, oh, yes, I see. And then I think Dante's like, wait a minute. You're not supposed to be here. You owed money to the bank when we basically bought the property. And she's like, no, I already fixed that with the bank. So it's still our house. And, there's a little hints that the Texas Chainsaw dude might be living there at that orphanage, which I'll be honest with you, there's a family, I like It's supposed to be connected to the past. So I'm like, why is he an orphan now? It just didn't make sense to me. How he's like all of a sudden in an orphanage. Dante's like, fuck no, we own it now. You better get out. You know, the tension rises. The cops arrive because they were gonna stop there, and they're like, hey, dude, this lady, we own this property now, and she's still here. So the cops are like, what the fuck are you doing here? I thought we already talked to you about this. As they're taking the lady, she has like a fucking like bad reaction, I guess. She runs out of oxygen and she vomits. And as she vomits, the Chainsaw Massacre dude is like up on the stairs just watching the whole thing, the whole ordeal. And then they're like, well, okay, we're gonna take her to the hospital. So they put her in the back of a police van, and the Chainsaw Massacre guy picks her up and goes to the back of the van. And somebody else from the group goes with them. Her name's Ruth. That's the fiance of Dante. They drive off, right? And now we start following the van. And there's one officer driving and the other officer's in the back. And this van is like a prison van. So there's like a metal stuff between the back and the drivers. So she dies. She straight out dies. Obviously the Texas Chainsaw guy goes like, you know, full rage mode. And just straight up kills the policeman in front because he's like, hey pal. She's already dead. Calm down. You can't do anything. He sees the intention, so he tries pulling out a gun. And I guess because the Texas Chainsaw dude is so strong and so manly, he straight up breaks the arm of the officer like a chicken bone, I guess. Like straight up just breaks it. And then with that same bone from his arm that's popping out, stabs him in the neck. And somehow he fires the gun. The dude with the chicken bone arm fires the gun accidentally and hits the driver in the jaw. So they crash into some cornfields or some shit like that. It's like some fields. Blonde girl's just like, oh my god, what's going on? Oh, you know, she's like freaking out. She wakes up and she's kind of like, oh my god, what the fuck is going on? Oh no. And she turns left and sees the cop might be dead. Then she turns right to the rear mirror. The Texas Chainsaw dude is just dragging the corpse of the lady. This is what I found confusing because I remember he had a family in the past film that they're relating to, and this one it kind of became like her new mother, kind of like the Jason Voorhees kind of thing. Like it's like her new mother figure. So I found it so weird. He starts cutting off her face with a glass. I don't know, I just find it weird how you supposedly like really care for her, and then now that she's dead, you just like cut off her face and put it on. I feel like that doesn't make sense in the perspective of the Texas Chainsaw dude, but maybe it's kind of like revenge, like I'm killing you fuckers because look at the face, this is what you did to her, it's not me, you did this, you know, maybe, I don't know. So he starts putting on the face, and by the way, just a critique, I think the mask for that character for this film is not that cool looking. It's funny because it looks like a blob. It looks like a face that got microwaved and then the guy just put it on and it looks like really bad. It's like soggy nacho chips, you know. It looks really bad. It looks goofy. Like I don't know what it is about it, but like I'd laugh at the face and I'd be like, oh, I'm about to die, and then boom, dead. I don't like the mask. The one I had seen, it's like the one of the, like, I think more well-liked masks, and I really like that mask because it's scary. You know, like you see that one was scary, and this one's goofy in my opinion. I was really mad because I was watching the film. She just tries to unbuckle her seatbelt, and I'm like, dude, don't unbuckle the seatbelt. Get the gun from the officer. Just get the gun and you know, at least just stay there. What I would have done, I would have just stayed still and had the gun, you know. And if the guy got up near me, I'd just, you know, fire. She obviously does not do that. And the officer who was driving wakes up and he's like bleeding. So he's like moving around. You know, Leatherface hears that. And I think by this time he already has the mask on his face. He grabs the oxygen tank from his mother and just fucking starts banging on his head. And then he looks at her and she's like trying her best to act dead. He goes around and then I'm like, oh man, how much you want to bet? I was like, he's gonna appear on the other side of the door and jump scare us, the viewers, and the blonde chick. He does. I thought this scene was pretty gruesome in my opinion. He grabs like the shard and I think he first slits her like stomach. I don't know if he slits her or stabs her neck and then her stomach, or is like just her stomach and just chokes her. And then she dies, right? Oh, I forgot to mention, while he was cutting the face, Ruth, the blonde chick, she actually uses the radio, like the police radio, and informs, like, oh my god, there's a dude, and this dude's like ripping off the face of her and wearing it. So the gas station guy, he hears it, and he calls that girl from the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he's like, he's back. And she's like, fuck yeah, you know, party time. And she grabs like a shotgun and puts on her cowboy hat, you know. I don't know if you guys are from Texas, but just know that everybody in Texas wears cowboy hats at all times. Like every time. Like whenever we go outside, we have to have a cowboy hat on. So, you know, she puts on the cowboy hat, guns, everything, goes in the truck and starts riding. She looks at the picture that's them in the van from the OG movie, and she like has reminiscent moments of like, oh man, I remember when I used to hang out with them and we got fucked by a weird family with a dude in a chainsaw, you know? And she drives. We go back to the Texas town. And must I say, from my understanding, that van scene happened like, I want to say that we're like really far away from the town. I don't know why these horror movies, even like with Michael Myers, they're like super fast. From my understanding, they're faster than the Flash. You know, like once the camera is not pointing at them, they somehow gain like supernatural speed. I was expecting that he was going to somehow appear in the town even though they were supposed to be far away, and it obviously happened. But the girl, she's like the protagonist, if I'm correct. It's Melody. She's like the older sister. The younger sister's Lila. I'm just going to call her Lila. She tells Dante like, hey, we do have the deed to that house, right? We didn't just like fucking kick her out. And it's like, yeah, no, we bought it. And he like takes out like where all of the deeds were or whatever, and he's like searching, and he's kind of like, oh fuck. And then he's like, well, we don't have it, she probably has it. So I guess she did talk with the bank about the issue, and Melody feels super bad because she's like, oh shit, we just, you know, basically, and I think she says it to Dante, it's like, we basically killed an old lady. Dante and Melody go to the house or the orphanage in search of the deed, so they won't have any problems. So they'll have it now. Lila like stays in the car or some shit. I don't know, man. I don't know what she does, but like she's there. From there, Melody is searching. I think she's upstairs, going into the room. And also, must I mention? I just remembered. The old lady, before she dies, she tells the Texas Chainsaw dudes like, don't go into my room, okay? That's the only thing. At the time, I didn't know why she said that, but I'll tell you why later on. Dante's in the kitchen, and guess who appears out of nowhere? Texas Chainsaw Dude. And Dante's like, oh fuck. And the Texas Chainsaw Dude grabs like a cleaver from the kitchen and just fucking slams it at him. I thought he killed him, but no, he walks out of the kitchen just like bleeding, and then he falls to the ground. And I'm like, oh, okay, wow, he died. I was like, okay. And at that point, Melody already knows like, oh shit, something's going on. So I think she hides in the closet. The bus arrives, and they're partying out over there. They're kind of waiting for everything to happen at the auction, right? What happens next is that the Leatherface dude goes into the mom's room, grabs a dress from the mother or from the old lady. He hugs the dress, like he puts himself in front of like the makeup stuff like that girls use. Like it's a table with a mirror, and they sit down and, you know, do their makeup. I think he starts putting on makeup, if I'm correct. Like because that's the face of the old lady. I'm fast forwarding here because I'm not even sure now. But she goes under the bed now. Okay, maybe she goes under the bed later on, and he starts breaking the wall inside the old lady's room that she told him not to enter. Lord and behold, guess what is there? The yellow chainsaw. But it needs fixing, so he goes back downstairs and he starts fixing it, if I'm correct. Let's see. Okay, from there, Dante turns out he was somehow still alive. Does not really make sense. I think the hatchet or the cleaver literally like cut his jaw and dislocated it, but he's somehow still alive. He stands up and starts walking with blood all over him, and by this time it's already night and it's raining. One of the girls there from the auction is like, oh, hey Dante, what's up my man, how you doing? And then she's like, oh shit, you know. He dies. He dies. He like bleeds out. From there, I think Lila also, oh no, she's in the bus now. I think the girl takes Lila and they're like, okay, let's go to the bus. Since it was raining, almost everybody was already inside that bus, so they go in there, and they kind of just stay inside. All this happens, the veteran dude did see what went on. Like he was like, oh shit. The veteran guy, from my understanding, he knew what's up with the dude in the sense that like he was dangerous, I guess, because he immediately grabs his pistol and starts going towards the orphanage, knowing that that's where the dude is probably at. From there, I think he goes upstairs. This is where it gets confusing for me. I can't remember too much, which is a good sign. That's how good the movie is, that I can't remember certain parts. The Texas Chainsaw Dude goes behind the door, and it's childish. He goes behind the door like a little kid, and the veteran guy has his Glock out, so he's, you know, slowly walking in. And Melody tries to help, and like she somehow pushes like the mirror with her feet. She's still under the bed, so that the veteran guy can see the reflection. So like that the Texas Chainsaw Dude is literally on the other side. I think by this time he has a mallet. I was excited when I saw the mallet. I think that's what he uses to break the wall, like part of the wall, so he could take out the chainsaw. So I got super excited. I was like, oh my god, that's the mallet. That's the one he's gonna use. And I was like super excited. I was like, let's see what cool combo he pulls on the veteran guy. It's a little bit too late. He pushes the door and they start fighting. And I think right away the Leatherface dude takes the gun out and then he just hits the fucking veteran guy in the leg. And when he hits him with the leg with the mallet, his leg just dislocates like a real bad, like his shin or like his like lower leg like hits it and it just dislocates. He pushes him towards the wall and breaks a glass like on the like a window. And I actually thought this was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty smart. I was like, oh yeah, that is pretty smart. So all the like Leatherface basically just as he's like holding each other, like the veteran guy is basically pushing him into the window. Leatherface does is literally just pushes his head towards the fucking left where the shard is. He basically impels the veteran guy with the glass shard in his neck. He just pushes him to the left and just he just impels him and he falls back. Right when he falls back, he sees that the Melody girl is under the bed, and I had forgot to mention this as well. The veteran guy basically took the cars or the key cards of the bus and the car, the electric car. So those are the only two ways of getting out of the town, like in a car, in a vehicle. So he took him away because he was telling Dante, it's like, you better show me the deed of the house. So because he also thought that they lied. They did lie. Dante did lie. Because turns out that the old lady did have the deed and they basically just killed her for no reason, So the veteran guy was like, until you show me the deed of that you own the orphanage or you own the property, I'll give you back the keys. So that's why they actually went in the orphanage in the first place, to search the deed. So he sees her and he starts taking off the keys as best as he can, throw it at her. Leatherface just grabs the mat and just starts smashing his face. She takes the keys. That's when the chainsaw, and that's when he's fixing it there. So he goes to fix the chainsaw, and that's when she tries escaping. Obviously, she makes noise, and this is like probably the best part. The chainsaw works, and if there was one thing I loved, is the chainsaw action. She goes down to because it was an orphanage, it was like 2 stories or 3 stories, and it's like those old wood stairs. She finally goes down, and when she looks up at the stairs, the dude's just standing there with the chainsaw, and he's just like boom, 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 and then it finally turns on, and he's like dun, 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 and the dude's just like, I'm ready to kill, and I was like, yes. So I was like, feed the chainsaw, it's hungry for blood. I was like, yes. Super excited that it turned on. So then he just starts going, he starts going crazy with it. He starts like swinging it. She somehow, I remember now, this made no sense. He has the mallet. He throws the mallet at her, and she breaks through. So now she's under the house. And I was like, oh, she died. I was like, because it's like, if he broke the floor throwing a mallet at you, then you're dead. But no, it's a movie. And she's the protagonist, so she obviously survives the hit, and that's when it turns on. So then she starts like crawling under the floor, and that's when he sticks the chainsaw through the wood, and he starts like trying to get her through the floor with the chainsaw, and she's trying to dodge and run. He cuts a pipe because luckily it was a metal pipe. Excrement goes on her face because that was the pipe for the restrooms, I'm guessing, like for the toilets. I don't know if that was supposed to be funny or just supposed to be like, ew, disgusting. I thought it was dumb. I was like, oh yeah, of course there's a metal pipe, and that stops her from her death. I was like, of course. I was like like a genius writers right there. The sister helps her and they run. Going to the bus, they have the keys now. So he tells the bus driver to drive, and they're like, okay, we're gonna get out of here. The bus driver, for some reason, I don't know what happens with the bus, but it stops or it starts like dragging. So he's like, I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna check what's making the bus go wrong. So they don't know. The bus driver obviously doesn't know that there's a crazy dude with a chainsaw. The girl who met Dante dying, she knows that something's up, but she doesn't know that it's another crazy dude with a chainsaw. And everybody who was attending the auction that's in the back of the bus partying, they obviously don't know nothing. So he gets out, Lord and behold, I think his like head comes flying, and then he enters. I think everybody has seen this scene in at least the trailer. He goes to the back of the bus, there's like neon lights, and everybody takes out their phones and they're like, try anything, bro, and you're gonna get canceled. Okay. Obviously the Texas Chainsaw dude, he just looks at the guy, with his mask, kills him. Straight up kills him with the chainsaw. From here on out, it's basically a bloodbath. A literal bloodbath. He just starts mowing them down with the chainsaw. I gotta tell you, it was pretty fun. I don't mean in a sick-minded way, but it was kind of like, finally, man, it's just mowing them down with the chainsaw. The guy, I bet the the Texas Chainsaw Dude's having a lot of fun, just killing all those guys. There was one part I disliked, which was that because I felt like they shouldn't have been many cuts. Everybody starts screaming. The Melody girl and her younger sister, they go into the restroom and they lock the door, hoping that they can survive. While this happens, the Layla girl was on the floor earlier, so when she's on the floor, she sees like blood and bodies. From my understanding, and it's like pretty obvious, she's like a school shooting survivor. From my understanding, because she has a flashback to when she's like at a school and she's laying down and there's like a bunch of fucking dead bodies like in a hallway with locker rooms. So I'm guessing she survived the school shooting and she's getting like memories or flashbacks because of what's going on. From there, obviously the Texas Chainsaw Dude just kills everybody. They're like two dudes or like one girl and another dude. I don't know if there were three or two back to back or like they were like in front of each other. So the Texas Chainsaw Dude just pushes the chainsaw through them. And I was like, oh, shish kebab, Pretty weird thought, but I thought it was funny. I was like, oh, it's a human shish kebab right there with a chainsaw. So obviously he checks the restroom. The younger sister bought a corkscrew. He tries to unlock the bathroom door, so when he sticks his hand in, she like stabs him with it. Lord and behold, there's like a fucking window thing on top of the restroom so they can actually leave. So they jump out and they start running towards the electric car, if I'm correct, because that one's still there and they have the keys for both. But the bus is already fucked, like you can't do much about that one. So as they go, the sheriff finally arrives in the car and she locks him in and she's kind of like, well, I need to kill that son of a gun, He has a debt to pay from the past. And the Texas Chainsaw Dude really only wants the people who had to do anything with the death of her mom, in a sense, or of that lady from the orphanage. So she takes out a shotgun. He goes back to the orphanage just to like chill, I guess. I guess it was like a big workout killing everybody in the bus. So he goes back and sits down. And the sheriff lady goes into the house with her shotgun, and the other two characters, the only one alive from the whole group, the older sister and the younger one, are stuck in the back of the sheriff's car. And then she points the shotgun at him and he's like, you remember me? It's like, I was that girl you killed, from the past. I'm the last one alive and I'm here to show you who's the boss. And then like he just stares at her, and remember he's wearing the goofy mask, so he's just staring at her. He's covered in blood and everything. Do you not remember me? I don't know why I thought this whole encounter was super dumb. The encounter between her and Leatherface is super dumb. She's like, speak. Acknowledge that you remember me, or something like that. And then he just stands up and ignores her. And he has the chainsaw. He's like getting ready to kill the last two people alive, or the last two that he has to kill, which is the younger sister and the older one. So I was like, man, the sheriff's really just not gonna do anything, huh? I was like, she's over here all like emo, like, oh my god, he doesn't remember me, I'm like, what is this? I'm like, what is this movie? They break out of the car, and that's when the dude comes out with the chainsaw, and he's like, oh, I'm ready to kill, That's when the sheriff shoots, and I like how Leatherface immediately noticed that it was like loaded, I guess, so he starts running. I don't know if she hits him, but like he just runs, and then she's like, all right, guys, get out of here, and she throws the keys to her car that's already on. As that happens, it becomes pretty funny because they make it seem like he's Batman. He's like in the shadows with the chainsaws, and she's like, oh, where could he be, So then there's this alleyway, and it zooms in, and he starts. I thought that was awesome. Like, I don't know, it seemed like homages to the OG film. He starts running at her with the chainsaw, and I thought this part was actually pretty dumb because she shoots at the chainsaw and nothing happens to it. Doesn't stop, doesn't stall. It's still like running, even though I'm pretty sure a shotgun shell to it would, mess it up. And it was a pump shotgun, so like she tries to pump it and he holds it, and then he just drives the chainsaw through her chest, and then he picks her. I thought that was super cool. Like, picks her up. I think this is from the past movies. Like, it's like a famous scene for him. He picks her up with the chainsaw and just starts like running the chainsaw in her chest, and it's just like she's bleeding, and she's like, oh, she's screaming. And he throws her corpse at like some garbage bags. That's where she belongs. She was pretty useless in my opinion. Such a useless character. Also like the veteran. I thought the veteran was gonna have like a big role, or like a pretty good role, and all they serve is just like death. That's all they serve. Like do something and then die. The genius older girl turns on the car. I think it's the older sister driving. And if I was driving, I'm gonna say this because in these horror films, I guess everybody's like, they lose chromosomes the moment they're in the in the horror film, they lose like brain cells because they become automatically super dumb. If I was driving, I wouldn't even try running him over. I would have just left. I would have just taken a U-turn and bye-bye. I'm not gonna deal with you. I'm just gonna keep driving. So she decides to run him over, and I don't know how this happens. I don't know if he even hits her, but he throws the chainsaw, if I'm correct. He like just straight up throws it and it hits the windshield. Maybe she hits him, and then they crash into the garage shop that the veteran guy have. So they crash. It's so dumb. They just crash. She has like a metal thing poking through her leg. She's like, just leave me here, and he's getting ready to kill. He's like going towards the truck. And as he's about to kill the older sister, the younger sister has gotten away. The veteran guy had an AR. I think it was an AR. I'm not sure. So I guess she remembered, so she starts going for it. And obviously the older sister doesn't know. So she tells the Leatherface dude's like, I'm sorry. The Leatherface guy, I guess he doesn't care. He's still gonna kill her. And he's about to kill her, and that's when the girl shoots. And then Leatherface turns around. I like how he's smart, though. He's like, because... And the other Leatherface, he wasn't that smart. He was like pretty dumb, So he turns around, he starts going at her, and I think the gun jams, like the rifle jams, and he cuts up the rifle, and she's back on the street now. And Leatherface is about to kill her now. She's laying down, and he's about to just kill her, when the older sheriff lady somehow is still alive. I'm pretty sure if they stick a chainsaw through your chest and pick you up and then run the blade in your chest, you're pretty much dead. She shoots a shotgun shell, like she shoots the shotgun, and he runs into the theater. So there's like a little cinema, and he runs there, like he runs off for some reason. And then from there, the girl goes to the sheriff, and the sheriff's like, here, take this gun, because she tells her, it's like, you can run, but he'll always haunt you. So I recommend you kill him now so he won't haunt you. Because she had obviously ran away, and that was the whole point. Like, she had been traumatized her whole time because she never killed him. She just ran away. So she was kind of telling her, like, kill him now. If not, he'll always be there, in a sense. So she takes the shotgun, loads up some shells. She's the younger one. Remember, the older sister's still in the car because she got impelled by a, like, fucking metal thing in her leg. So she's somehow stuck. So she goes in the theater. There's a cool scene there. I'm just going to kind of go fast forward this. He, like, hides around, and he somehow is pretty smart. He gets the shotgun out of her hand. But when that happens, I think she shot the chainsaw, so they both lose their weapon. So the chainsaw's like on the ground, and her shotgun's on the ground too. So she starts running for it, and the Texas Chainsaw dude is like, I thought that was super cool because I was like, man, he's a genius. He like grabs the chainsaw and just throws it on the ground. He just like straight up just like throws it on the ground so it gets her. So since he throws it on the ground, it's like slices her like knee or something, like her leg, her foot. So she starts crawling towards the shotgun, and obviously Leatherface steps on the shotgun, so she can't pick it up. And the older sister gets on the back of Leatherface to start fighting, and then she picks up the chainsaw of Leatherface, kills him, I guess, and he falls into the pool. When he fell into the pool, I was like, he's not dead, isn't he? He falls into the pool, and he submerges, and bubbles come out, and you're like, oh, they died. Youpee, he's dead. Finally, Leatherface is bye-bye. So they get on the electric car. They're tired, after everything, you get tired from that. So you put the car on auto drive. She puts it on auto drive. And auto drive is super slow. And then the window thing on the cars that's on the top, she puts it off. And the sun's shining in now. And they're like, oh man, we made it. Let's get out of here. So it's on auto drive. So just relaxing as it's driving slowly. Obviously, then the Texas Chainsaw dude out of nowhere comes in, breaks the glass from the passenger side, pulls out the older sister, and just as she pulls it out, the camera cuts, and the younger sister goes from the top, because remember that electric car had the top window. So she gets out, and she's watching as the Texas Chainsaw dude just decapitates her older sister and throws the head. And then he like starts dancing with the chainsaw, like, ooh, he's like doing ballerina stuff with it, going crazy with it, breaking it down with it. And the younger sister's like, no, and she's reaching out, and it ends like that. Worst ending of a movie. I remember the one I had watched. She escapes in a car, and she's like, yes, I escaped. And then the Texas Chainsaw dude somehow fits in the back of the car laying down, and he just sticks a chainsaw through the driver's seat, and kills her. So I already knew these movies were like that. Like, those ones are like that, because I was like, it's like that cheap ending where they make it seem like she escaped or he, and then they die. So the older sister just gets decapitated, and that's how it ends. Now let us go to our first music break. This song was paired with Staying Alive when ABBA got their resurgence back in the late 70s, featured in Saturday Night Fever. This is More Than a Woman by ABBA. Now that we've gone over the plot, let's talk about the characters. This one might be a little fast because as I talked about the plot, you could tell by the characters. Dante, he's like the dude. He's running the auction for the properties of Texas, or from that Texas town. I thought his character was pretty scummy because he kind of lied. I don't know if he lied knowing that he didn't have the deed, but it seemed scummy that after he found out that she still had the deed, he's kind of like, well, let's still get the deed from her house and kind of pass it off like we owned it the whole time. I think that's really scummy. I thought I didn't like his character. At first, I liked him. I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, he's a cool guy. All right, can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to see if he maybe survives or dies. But then when that happens and he's like, oh, well, let's just steal the deed from her house. She probably still has it. I was like, okay, he's a scumbag. So I didn't like him. The two sisters, the older one, a bit dumb. The younger one, also dumb. The first thing I would do if I got in the car, I would not put it in auto drive. I would actually just step on the gas and just go. I would just step on the gas as hard as I can and just go. The two sisters are okay as protagonists. I think, like I said, they're dumb, but everybody in this film are dumb except Leatherface. He's like pretty smart, I guess. So yeah, I thought they were alright. The veteran dude, I liked him because I thought he was going to have a bigger role. I was like, oh, he's like the Texas dude with a gun. He'll somehow turn out to be actually like a nice guy. I thought he was kind of nice at the end because, he kind of tried helping as best as he can before he got his fucking face caved in with a mallet. He was alright, but I am disappointed that they just killed him off so fast. Like, you could have he couldn't have appeared in the film and nothing would have really changed except for the minor fact that they have the keys for the vehicle now. Leatherface, I thought he was pretty cool. I mean, he was like a smart killer. He did a lot of like things that was smart, like throwing his chainsaw, impaling people with glass. Like he did some pretty smart stuff for a dude who's supposed to just be kind of dumb and just killer. The old lady with the oxygen tank, not much to say about her. Only comment is that the Confederate flag thing. She's like, it reminds me of my grandpa, and I'm like, okay. Like, okay, and it's still a Confederate flag, my man. Doesn't change anything. The older lady who's the Texas Ranger, I mean, she's old. And it just really nags me how she got a chainsaw through her chest and got picked up and she didn't die. She didn't pass out. Like, she was perfectly fine in a sense. I thought she was alright because I understand her point of view. She did some dumb things. Like when she had Leatherface right there sitting and not even with the chainsaw, he was just chillaxing there. She could have just shot him in the head and nothing would have happened. Or, I mean, the film would have ended. But she didn't do that because I guess she wanted Leatherface to remember her or something. I don't know. It was kind of dumb. I thought she was cool. I guess she was like, alright. She was supposed to be like that girl from the Halloween movie. I think Jamie Lee Curtis played her. She's the survivor and she's coming back to kill, settle the deeds with the killer, which in that movie is Michael Myers, and this one it's Leatherface, right? I don't know what to say, man. It wasn't something super cool, super bad, like she was alright. Every other character was pretty insignificant, like the Ruth, if I'm correct, who's the fiance of Dante. She just got killed in the van. All she served was just letting the Texas Ranger lady know that he was back. Most of the characters are, I guess, 2D. They're predictable and they're really dumb. Nothing special here. I think the actors did a good job. The actors themselves, I think, did a really good job. Like, I have no critiques towards the actors in a sense. I think everybody did a good role, especially the Leatherface, that dude. It's kind of weird to say it, but like the way he would run, the way he would like move, felt really good. Like it felt intimidating. Apart from the mask, like his movements, the way I don't know if he's really tall in real life, but in the film I think they kind of do nail he's supposed to be like a big dude. Let's go to our second music break. This song was not only catchy, but holds one of the longest sustained notes on an American pop song. With it being 18 seconds long, this is Lovely Day by Bill Withers. I'm glad to have you guys back from our second music break. Now I'm going to go over some things I liked about the films. I guess overall the aesthetic of the film was good. Like there were some good shots. But I don't know if that's, like for me, it's like I was kind of thinking, it's like, what could I say good about this film? And I was like, I guess the shots, like the aesthetic of it. There's some shots that are really pretty, really good looking. But that's about it. Like the scenes where there are some shots and some scenes that are pretty cool, that they look alright. As I mentioned, the guy who plays Leatherface, I think he did a really good job. After he starts doing his rampage, like at the beginning it's alright, like he does nothing right. But once he starts killing people, I think that's where he shines, like the whoever played him, and the way he moves the chainsaw, the way he does like certain, like the way he throws the chainsaw, I thought was funny. The way he ran at the sheriff lady when she's shooting at him, I thought that was pretty good too. The use of his big brain, he does some big brain moves with his chainsaw. I don't know. I just just find it so funny. He just like throws it at the fucking car. He throws it at the car and then he like rolls. I thought it was so funny. I'm like, what kind of like fucking crazy maniac with a chainsaw would even think of throwing it? The mallet, I thought the mallet stuff was pretty cool. How he just kills the veteran dude like it's nothing. Like it was pretty sad because I was rooting for the veteran guy and he just got fucking demolished by a mallet. There are some past tropes that I liked. As I said, I think there were some parts from this film that they were giving homage to the like OG films. And it was like there was a scene and it's where he holds the chainsaw up with his, I think it's with his both hands. He holds it up and he runs the blade and it's like, oh, like it's doing the noise. And I remember every time like he would kill somebody with a chainsaw, or there was like a scene that would kind of reminisce like from the things he would do in the past. I was like, yes. I was like, feed the chainsaw with the human blood. It's thirsty. I would say things like that just to play around. I thought it was hilarious the way he would like when he held it up. I was like, oh, here we go. It was like so dumb. And like I said, there's like, I guess the best word is he dances with the chainsaw. He like swings it around with one hand and he's like moving around, and it looks so funny. Like it was pretty cool because I'm pretty sure that was like a way to give homage to the films of the past, like when he holds it up in the air, when he picks up the sheriff lady with the chainsaw while like it's in her chest. It's like things that are from the past films that make it iconic. For me, the film good at a certain point is the way that they just go back to some of the things that made him iconic. So as you can see, there's not many things that I I liked about the film, because I think overall it's a bad film. It's a film that I think I would recommend to people, but in the sense of like, it's so bad you should look at it. I personally would never see this movie again. Yeah, I think it's really bad. Like, I don't like, or not really bad, I just don't think it's that good. Like, it certainly does not deserve another rewatch from my part. I already saw the film. There's nothing special about it, sadly. It seems like it's just trying to bank on the past. I feel like that's what makes the Halloween movie so different, is I think the reboots or the newer ones really holds up well. I've heard some stuff about the newest one, so that's why I say that the Halloween movies, I think they tried something new, and I feel like this movie didn't really try anything new. Like, I just felt like they went banking off the nostalgia of people remembering this girl that's the Texas Ranger and everything, wanting to see her get some revenge for what Leatherface did to the friends. Hello, I'm glad to have you back. Now let's go over one of the last things. What I did not like. The mask. Once again, the mask. I don't think the mask is intimidating. I feel like the past masks have done a good job at being more intimidating. I'm not saying that like, oh, wearing the face of another person isn't bad. Like, all of them, if I'm correct, all of the films have done that, but this one just didn't feel right. First of all, like I said, it's her mother figure. So for me, it's like, why would you cut the face out of the lady who you look at how you look at as your mother and wear it? Worse is that you're cutting her face, and then what's even like worse is that you're wearing it. So I thought that was, also when he puts it on, I'm like, is it tape or something? I'm like, how did he attach it? That makes no sense. The last films, I think it was like they would put it over like a hat, like they would put it on their head and I think like push it down. The story, as I mentioned, is connected to a film from the past. Now, I did not watch the one that it's based off of. I think I watched it when I was young because I remember like the beginning, but I don't remember anything else of the movie. Because I watched a different one. I think I watched the 2013 one. But this one's based off from the original one, I think, and I did not watch that one. So it's connected to it, and I had to search it up after I watched the film. So in the original one, the family kind of gets him to kill people. It's not really him, Leatherface himself, that's doing the killing. It's more like the family kind of telling him to do it, and since he's kind of like sick in the head in a sense, he goes along with it, I guess. So the family dies, and then I guess he's by himself. So at the end of the 2022 movie, it shows him in the end credit scenes like Marvel. I was surprised that it had some end credit scenes. It shows him walking with the chainsaw, and then he is approaching the original house, like the house that had the family in it. Which I don't know how that connects to it, because in this film they never mention him like being with a family. They make it seem like he doesn't have like there's no connection to the past. Like, this is a brand new depiction of Leatherface. Let's actually put some more music on. This song was released after the album's release of No Goodbyes, but the song failed to reach Billboard's top 40, surprisingly ranking at an 80. It's Uncanny by Daryl Hall and John Oates. But in the film, they bank off how it's connected to the past because he already has the chainsaw. The Texas Ranger is one of the surviving members from the original movie, right? Or the sole surviving member. So it doesn't really make sense. that it's connected to the past, yet they ignore a bunch of things. It's kind of like non-canon. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's no way it can be canon because they're overriding stuff that doesn't make sense. Like the mention of the family. And for me, it's like, if he's going back to the family house, does that mean that the family's there? Or like, why is he going back to that house again? It makes no sense. It literally makes no sense how the film was advertised with it being connected to the original one, but still wanting to be like a new Leatherface. It just makes no sense. Another thing I didn't like, but that's I think with all horror movies, is that the characters are super dumb. Like they are missing brain cells. Like they're missing neurons. They're like I'm like, dude, bro, like, why would you do that? You know, like, why? But that's, I think, like, almost with all horror movies. The Texas Ranger shoots him with a shotgun and he's perfectly fine. Now, I know big boys like him. I know a pistol round might not stop him. Like, if you shoot him once in the chest, he will keep running at you, right? But when a shotgun shoots you, you're gonna feel it, you know. Like I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I've seen demonstrations with shotguns many times, and that thing will tear chunks of meat off your body, you know. Like, shotguns are not to be messed with, which is, I think, I could be wrong, but I think that's why they're labeled as the best home defense weapons, if I'm correct. Like, those are the best guns to have in case a burglar ever comes or something like that. If I'm correct, shotguns are labeled as that, and that's why you just kind of point at the general direction of a dude, pull the trigger, and you don't even have to be precise. You just have to you have to point the barrel at them, and she points the barrel at Leatherface, shoots at him, shoots at the chainsaw, and nothing happens to them. But it just makes no sense. It kind of gets me mad because I'm like, I would have loved it more if, you know, like, he gets hurt and that's why he has to go into the cinema or the theater, you know, like things like that. Also, there's one big thing that I hate, and I know some people who actually might use guns might know about this. Like, they might tell me like, well, it's harder to hit the head, but there were moments in this film when the characters had guns that they could just straight up just shoot his head, and they never did. And I feel like if they shot him in the head, everything would be over. Like, the movie would be done. And that frustrated me, dude. I'm like, dude, you have a perfect shot at the head. Just shoot the head. I'm like, why would you shoot at the body? You see that bullets don't stop him. Why would you shoot at the body? You just shoot at the head. And so, as I mentioned, when he falls down into the pool and they make it seem like he died, it was so predictable that he was going to be alive and he was going to come back and probably kill them both. I thought that he was going to kill them both when he only killed the older sister. So I think it's dumb. That's something I don't like, how predictable the ending is. It's like the new Scream movie. I didn't see it, but when I saw the trailers, I didn't have an idea how it was going to finish. You know, I didn't have a clue on how the movie was going to end. But with this Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, I was like, oh, I bet he's going to probably die and he's going to come back somehow and kill the protagonist, you know. That's about it. As you can see, like, if you're wondering what I think about the film, I'm sure I would never watch it again. I don't see myself watching this film again. This is my first time doing this episode like this, you know, like no script or anything, just me going off. I can tell, I think there's going to be a lot of different audio levels because I'm getting close and getting far to the mic. I hope you enjoyed this episode. As I mentioned, there's no script here, so I just have like points to talk about, like characters, and I just had the characters' names. This is the Tomorrow Show. I really hope you enjoyed it. You could check our social media, specifically TikTok. I'm going to be posting some clips of this episode there, like highlights. I really hope you enjoyed this episode or our first episode of the Tomorrow Show with Sweet Dreams AM. Once again, I am your host. Thank you all for listening, and goodbye.